everyone. Welcome back to another game dev interview. We're going to be interviewing the developers from the game Piece Together. So if you want to just say hello to Ellie and Kate from Glowfrog Games. Hi. How are you both doing today?
Yeah, great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, good. I know we had a little chat offline and Kate has been doing a game jam last weekend, so she might be a little bit tired.
I think I've recovered now, but yes, it was a late night on Sunday getting that final build in.
How about you, Ellie?
Yeah, no, I'm all good. I'm just jealous of your guys' backgrounds, actually. I feel like my background is super weak.
Well, you've got the hair, though, so what more do you need?
Yeah, we're sisters.
Amazing. So yeah, if you could just introduce yourself, who are you?
So I'm Kate, I'm a game designer. I've been working in the industry for around 14 years in various capacities of game design, especially working on a lot of educational games, but now I am a game designer and CEO of Glowfrog Games.
Yeah, and I'm Ellie. I was a lead artist at my previous company for about 6 years, and now I'm working with Kate and on Piece Together as the lead artist, and I really like cats and adorable things as well.
So how long have you both been developing games for?
So it's one of those hard questions to answer because it was something I was doing as a hobby, like when I was, I don't know, 13 or something. I started off making Flash games and trying to sell Flash games to other people that were making like Neopets inspired websites. I think that was my first commercial games venture. But yeah, I've always kind of been tinkering about with stuff on computers and trying to make games or digital art or animation. But professionally, I usually say around 14 years because that's when I made my first kind of real commercial game project.
Yeah, for me, it's more like I didn't know making games was a thing until after I finished. Well, I was at uni doing animation for a bit and then dropped out because I was kind of like, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. And then I found making games after that. So yeah, ever since coming out of university, I kind of been working on them ever since.
Oh, that's cool. How did you find out that games was a possible career for you?
Well, after a nice bout of depression and thinking about what I was going to do with my life, I'd been playing, it was when Skyrim like first came out. So I'd played so much of that game and then I can't really remember. I think I just sort of came across it and then I was like, "Oh, I've always really liked art and I really like games. I didn't know you could do that." So then I went to uni to study it and it was pretty life-changing.
Oh, I love that though.
Yeah,
It's like a big
it was
crossroads.
quite similar for me in a way because I was doing a 1 year art foundation course and I thought I was going to do animation because that's what my school careers advisors, they looked at my interest like, oh, computers, art, go and do animation. But luckily, while I was on that year, we had people come around and talk about the degrees, and I was at a uni that had a game design degree, and it just blew my mind. I was like, oh, obviously, that's what I'm going to go and do. Because yeah, it wasn't really something that you got told about as a career.
Yeah, I can totally relate. I feel like it's just becoming a known thing now. Especially I think like kids get taught how to code and stuff in secondary school
Yeah.
now, which I love. But yeah, it's one of those mystery jobs that you don't even realize you can do, even though the games are out there and we're playing them. People have had to make them. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. So next question. How did you develop the skills that you needed to start developing games then?
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a combination because I was quite self-taught, as I said, as a teenager, kind of learning bits of coding and making websites. I think I was always just curious to tinker with stuff. And also, I always think growing up in the British countryside, there's not always that much else to do. You've got the internet, you're like, right, I guess I'm gonna, live online and like get in the chat rooms and kind of learn all this stuff. But then, yeah, obviously I did do a game design degree in the end, which was a hybrid course of game art and design.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a particularly technical course. It was more about kind of design theory and I guess games as art as well, which was really interesting. But there was still a lot of self-teaching to do afterwards to kind of get my skills in like Unity and stuff up to scratch. So yeah, I'd say a combination of those two things really.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, like, my background was more in doing fine art and stuff like that because I didn't realize you could, do stuff digitally and, make cool stuff like that. So I was super into, like concepts behind things or trying out lots of different art styles and stuff. And then it was a bit of a shock to the system when I was like, oh yeah, I want to put these things in a game. How hard can that be? And then I came across UV unwrapping and I was like, what the hell is that? Because I had no idea how you made anything into a game. So I studied in Teesside University and I picked that one because the games course, I don't know if it's changed now, but it's probably the same where it's like you did a bit of game design, you did a bit of like animation, and you
cool.
did games art. So you could kind of like do different modules and see, the different parts of making a game, which I'm really glad we did because like I said, I had no idea what goes into making one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really good course actually, and I definitely learned a lot. But then when I got into industry, it's just like it is quite different than what you learn, and you kind of adjust to whatever you're doing in your first job and the workplace and everything. But yeah, that's kind of I've always like lent back on my fine art skills for when I'm trying to make artistic decisions and stuff still. So
Yeah.
that's been quite cool.
Yeah. No, that sounds really good. It sounds like you both kind of found your niches and what you loved and just kept going with what inspired you, and then that's kind of how you learn game development, which is very nice. And I wonder, how did you meet each other?
So we met in our last workplace, which was a startup company. I was obviously working as a game designer. Ellie came on board as the artist, I think 6 months or a year after I joined. And yeah, that was mainly focused on making multiplayer games. So we were making games for platforms like iMessage, Facebook Instant Games, Snapchat, and yeah, doing like multiplayer games that kind of like bring families and friends together to just play like quick little casual games.
Yeah.
So I think we were working together maybe 3 years there, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Like three and a bit maybe.
Gotcha. Cool. So you've been working together actually for quite a while, really.
Yeah, and we made a cat game together. That was probably the solidifying experience.
A cat game.
Yeah, we made a game about breeding cats and coming up with new cats, and that was a good time. They were so cute, Ellie. Your cat art was so cute.
I remember when I first had to do a cat for it, I was like, I was still quite new, I think. I was like still a junior. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can draw cats. Come on. And then my first cat was an absolute abomination. And I was like, I'm gonna get fired for sure. Like I can't even draw a cat. But no, we powered through.
I really want to see this cat now.
Well, I don't know. Art might be around still. Actually, it might be in my portfolio. I think I might have a little bit about hatch cats and stuff.
Oh yeah, I do as well, actually.
So now we know about you. Please tell us a bit about Piece Together, your game.
So Piece Together is a cozy scrapbooking puzzle game. The way it works is you open up these like envelopes of mementos belonging to the protagonist, and then you have to solve puzzles about where to put them in the scrapbook. And as you kind of complete each page, you discover this quite emotional, like nostalgic story about the protagonist, who's maybe like a woman in her 30s, looking back on this friendship she had from childhood, maybe working through kind of the emotions about what happened. So yeah, it's like a combination of very chill puzzling and crafty scrapbooking, but then also quite like an emotional and personal story as well.
Definitely. I will say, so we played it last Friday, and I played it originally at Develop as well. But when I got to sit and play it again on my own, I almost cried at the end because it's just the demo, but it's so relatable. And like I was telling Chat, because we played it live, there's so many friends that come to mind from my own life, right, when I'm playing this game. So yeah, kudos to you. I think you're nailing what you've got. And we were Chat and I were wondering how old this person was. We were like, how old is she now? So you've already answered that question.
Well, I mean,
Roundabout.
we don't know, the details, but I guess, it's easiest to write about what you know. I'm in my mid-30s, so yeah, we've had a lot of people who played it at like a number of events we've showcased that say very similar things, and they always say, I almost cried, and I'm like, we need you to cry. Like, until someone's crying, we're not succeeding. That's the goal.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I would have cried if I wasn't with Chat because, yeah,
Okay.
I have to hold myself together. But yeah, I'm sure I would have.
Yeah, I think when we kind of came up with the story, we knew we were obviously making something that was quite personal and
Yeah.
relatable, but I think it still surprised us when we came to show the game to people how much people related to it, and like it's just such a universal experience to have friends, and then things happen in life, and pretty much everybody has said the same thing. Oh, it reminds me of this person in my life, and which is great. Honestly, it's been so. It's always just quite inspiring to see that it's having an emotional impact on people.
Yeah. Like being able to highlight kind of some of the quieter relationships drifting away and stuff, because I feel like there's a lot in media with romantic relationships or familiar ones, but then with friendships I feel like you definitely get things right where there's a lot of turmoil or like really intense things happen, but I think that kind of universal experience of having people come in and out of your life in ways that you don't necessarily expect, or like with a partner or something, a breakup is usually a lot more like you see it happen and you process it, whereas with friendships it can be such a slower kind of process, and it's something that like you don't always turn around and sort of identify and have a look at. So we kind of wanted piece together to be a bit cathartic in that way, where it's like it's a story between these two friends, but there should be feelings and stuff in there that's hopefully the player feels a bit of introspection on their own friendships, which, yeah, like Kate was saying, we definitely have had a lot of people mention that they have been doing that. So, yeah, it's very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, even just through the demo as well. So kudos to you. I mean, yeah, I think it made me think about how people helped me become who I am. And yeah, because like you say, it's such a gradual thing. You don't even realize the impact people like that have had on you. So yeah, love playing it. But
Yeah.
so you've explained to us a little bit about why you made this game and how you want people or players to feel. But when did you decide to make the game? And was it kind of like an easy decision to go onto this topic?
The very first prototype of the game quite early last year, and it was I've been, for context, I guess I'd been on this program called the Astra Fellowship Grant, which was 18 months. It basically funds solo developers to just like work on stuff that you want to work on, which was obviously very luxurious. And I was coming towards the end of that, and I started working together with a programmer, and we made this very scrappy prototype that was just about scrapbooking. But the original prototype was completely different. It was a very sad story. I remember I pitched it to Ellie while we were at a conference, and I think Ellie just looked at me like, what is this? So, because the idea back then was more to do with memory loss, and like your scrapbook items, you were kind of choosing what memories to keep and maybe who to forget in your life. It was too depressing. And in the end, we were like, I don't think I can work on this game. This is not going to be a nice experience. So we kind of went back to the drawing board with like, okay, what kind of story does it make sense to tell with a scrapbook? And just digging a lot into our own experiences. I think Ellie and I just slightly became like therapy sessions with each other, where we would just talk about all these different friendship experiences that we'd had in our lives. And it kind of came out of that. So it definitely feels like a real combination of everybody on the team. Like you can see bits, we always talk about it, you can see bits of both of our personalities and our sometimes being on the opposite side of these friendship problems, which, yeah, I feel like we've got to know each other better through doing this as well.
Yeah, I think so. We've also been tempted to recreate like a sleepover with like the crappy £1 sweets and like a terrible movie, just to, we have to live out the dream.
Yeah, and the magazines with the questions, like what you've got
Oh
on
yeah,
the demo as well. Oh my gosh, yes. Like, how well do you know
Yeah,
your best friend?
some of these are very inspired by, yeah, like specific things. Some of them I think are quite inspired by specific items that are in my scrapbook, because I'm a bit of a hoarder of childhood things, and I have drawers full of stuff that I was trying to organize, and you're looking at each thing like, oh, is this one quite worth keeping or not? And these like notes from, I was always writing notes to my friends in school and getting in trouble for that. So yeah, as I
Yes.
said, there's so many little details and pieces that you can like trace back to one of our experiences somewhere.
yeah. It's definitely super interesting, like you were saying, Kate, like putting our different experiences in there, because I think we are, like we've always said, we're like very complementary to each other, which means we are quite different as well. But somehow we're just like very united on our creativity and the types of things we want to make together. But it definitely helps us kind of flesh out the two characters, and it's not about anyone being a bad person necessarily. It's just, people change, or, things happen in life and change happens,
Yeah.
and it's like friendship survive that change, and that might not be a bad thing either. It's sort of just a thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we wanted to get across in the game as well. It's not like a guilt trip of, oh, you didn't see your friend for a long time, now they're dead. We've got too far, but you know what I mean. Like it's
Spoilers.
not about that. It's just about reflecting on relationships and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Such a beautiful topic, honestly. It's so lovely. Yeah. I think you've already kind of answered this question, but I was going to ask you, is this your first indie game venture? It sounds like it isn't. So, how long have you kind of been making indie games?
Yeah, so I actually made my first indie game with who person who is now my partner when we were still students. We went to like a student game dev competition in Dundee, which I think is now kind of called Dundev, but it used to be called Dare to be Digital. And we yeah, we made a game together over like 10 weeks of the summer, and then ended up turning that into a company and like fully releasing that as an indie title. It got published by Xbox Live. We won a BAFTA.
Wow,
It was
congrats.
the early peak of my indie career. Then I sort of went off a tangent because it's quite hard when you don't have, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be an indie dev. This is my career path. It's quite hard when you're fresh out of uni to raise funds for a company. So I sort of went off on a different path, working in various software developers, back to games. And it was, yeah, quite a long time before I felt like I was in a position to come back to doing it, almost the point where I didn't know if it was something I'd given up on, kind of, was I ever going to get there? But yeah, the stars kind of eventually aligned, and we managed to start Glowfrog Games.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, this is my first indie game.
Ah,
So it's been an interesting experience. Yeah.
cool. Okay, we'll revisit that in just a moment. But that's good to know. So I wonder. This question is for Kate. When and why did you decide to create Glowfrog Studios?
Yeah, so as I said, it was a bit of a situation of the stars kind of aligning. It's something I'd wanted to do for such a long time. And I think it was kind of like a sequence a sequence of things that happened. The first was I left my job during the pandemic. As I mentioned, my mental health wasn't great during lockdown, and I kind of got to the point where I had to leave. Which, as often happens, you look back and you're like, oh, that was actually the best thing that could have happened, because it started me on this path. So that was towards the end of 2020, and since then I've just been combination of doing the grant program I mentioned and also freelancing. And I think because I'd had that push to go freelance, which I might otherwise not have done because it seemed like quite a scary and risky thing to do. Also, I moved out of London, which helps because my rent became much lower. And then that gave me a lot more freedom with my time, and like put me in a better financial position to finally start working on my own projects again. And just, it really, like, the first little project I made after I left my job was quite a big revelation for me, because it just made me remember how much I do enjoy the process of building stuff and making games and getting in and like tinkering with Unity and making something. I made a game that was about my anxiety dreams. It's like WarioWare, but every mini game is like one of my recurring anxiety nightmares. And it's so cathartic, and I don't know, yeah, it's just quite emotional. So I was like, oh, I I do really love making games actually. Like I still want to do this after a period of feeling quite burnt out and questioning a lot of things. So yeah, that was kind of what led me to the situation of starting Glowfrog. And Ellie and I had both left that job, which was based in Guildford, but we'd both ended up moving to Norfolk, so we kind of ended up reconnecting. So yeah, it's all worked out pretty well.
Wow, that's crazy that you both moved so far away and
Yeah.
ended up in the same space and was just like, hey, let's do this. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
it was quite coincidental. I mean, Ellie's family are kind of from the area. It was because of my partner's family that I ended up here. But
Mm,
yeah, it was, as I said, stars aligning
yeah,
to be in the right place at the right time.
absolutely, absolutely. Oh, and I'm so glad you rekindled like the flame and your love for game dev as well. Yeah, it goes to show that sometimes you just need a break from things, and then you can revisit it
Yeah.
with fresh eyes and a new perspective and in new surroundings. Yeah, that sounds great. And so for you, Ellie,
hmm
how does being the sole artist on this game differ to like working in a team? And you say this is your first indie game, so how is the
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, it's been great so far. So even though this is my first indie game, the company I was at previously, it was still quite a small company. So when you're an artist in that situation, you are working on every part of the game. So it's not like I wasn't used to kind of like looking at UI, looking at marketing, looking
Hmm.
at, the in-game assets, all of that kind of stuff was something I was quite comfortable with. So that's been kind of cool working on Piece Together because I've had a lot of freedom, a lot of freedom to just sort of run with things. But then Kate is also like our creative director as well. So, I have someone to throw ideas off, or, if I'm going a little bit too far in one direction, like some of the little characters in Piece Together. I think there's a whisk that you hate, isn't there, Kate? There's a little brownie whisk who's like, he's enjoying his massage a bit too much, and Kate's like, okay, I'll allow that one. But um yeah, so it's good to still have someone to bounce that stuff off, because if I was just doing it alone, that would be a lot harder. Because I definitely work better with that kind of critique kind of workflow where it's like we're not saying we don't like something as much as like, oh, how can we make this thing better, or how can we make it closer to what we want together,
Yeah.
which is like part of the process that I do really enjoy and would definitely miss if I didn't have that. Um, but yeah, and it's super rewarding as well. I mean, working on my previous games, that was pretty rewarding because you do get a lot of your art out there on platforms like Snapchat and Discord and things. That was really cool.
Mm.
But with Piece Together, like, especially at Develop, people would come up and be like, oh, I love the art of this game. And I'm like, that's all me, baby. No, with some help with. Yeah, it's interesting. I think there could be a situation where it isn't as fun as working in a team, but I still have my team. It's just, I just got to make all the thing.
Gotcha.
But that's fine. I was making all the thing before, so we just carry on.
That sounds good. Sounds like you're able to basically put like your own personal style and spin all over it, and then you're like, Ellie Stamp. It's mine.
Yes. That's why there's a lot of cats hidden in it.
Eh. Love that, love that. Um, okay, so I wonder, like, this might be too big a question, but run us through how you started developing Piece Together, because I know it can be really fun to come up with a game idea and you're kind of talking about it, like, oh, it'd be cool if this and if this, but where did you actually begin to make the game?
Yeah, so it was very much this mechanical prototype of trying to figure out how can we make a scrapbook, the idea of scrapbooking into a kind of puzzle gameplay. So it was very like scruffy. It had my terrible, this was like before Ellie joined, so I had my terrible art in the game, and it was,
That's
yeah, it was just a lot of iteration of trying to figure out what that gameplay was. And yeah, a lot of, as I said, a lot of early ideas about forgetting and memory. And I think we were really hitting a bit of a wall with trying to figure out how that would be fun. Yeah, I think once we let go of that idea and just started to think about what story do we want to tell with it, then we started making a lot more strides. And yeah, we did a lot of brainstorming around just like what are cool items to scrapbook, like how can it's like a lot of back and forth between thinking about scrapbooking and items and then the story and finding out kind of where those can match together, because obviously it's quite a big constraint to be telling a story entirely through items, and then also the items have to make sense as puzzles. So yeah, there's a lot of back and forth of like, we want to tell this moment, that doesn't quite work when you're trying to do it just with items. So I think the thing we hold on to is like the emotions of the moments that we want to tell, rather than specific details of like, oh, they need to go. Like we have the community bake sale as a page in the game, and that's had a couple of different iterations of what it was, but we knew what it wanted to say, if that makes sense. We were like, oh, we want them to come together to achieve something and help each other out. What does that look like? The great thing about making a paper-based game, it's very easy to paper prototype. Because you can pretty much just play the game. Like I was just making it on a Miro board. I don't know if you use Miro, but just like collaborative whiteboarding, and then I could play test that with Ellie or with the programmer or anybody, and it's very easy to simulate scrapbooking interactions. So I think we'll still do a lot more of that going forward, because it's the fastest way to test, like, do these items make sense? Do they tell the story that we want to tell? So yeah, I'm not a big fan of paper prototyping, but it has been very helpful in this project.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, because you could literally just have it in front of you and then just be physically doing it all. That sounds
yeah,
great.
yeah.
That sounds great.
And it's a lot faster to iterate and to just test new ideas that way.
Yeah, especially if you can be there in person as well, because you both live in like close vicinity to one another. So that sounds good. And before I forget, so I played the game twice, as I said, once at develop and then once on stream, and I missed, or I forgot, the beginning of the game where there's like the letter that's being written, right? And then you go into the gameplay of the scrapbook. Was that letter always in your minds of like, this is how it's going to start? Because it tells a lot of the narrative setting is within that letter and the sentences, and then also at the end of the demo when it comes back in. Was that something you always knew you were going to do, or did it come in later?
I think it did come in later. Like we knew we wanted to have the framing that she's older and she's looking back on the past. It's not like, for instance, when you play Florence or something, or Unpacking, it is you kind of get the feeling of you're looking back on something, but you're still in the moment watching that stuff happen. And we wanted this to have that feeling, because I think it does evoke that sense of reflection and nostalgia and those like relatable feelings. So we knew that we needed some kind of framing device that would set that up, and also to set up a bit of intrigue. Like we didn't want it to feel like a kids game, because it obviously opens with them being kids and meeting. And we're like, but it's not about that. It's not just like a coming of age story. It's about something else. And I think having that present day setup really helps with that. And it kind of gives you a bit of a dilemma of understanding that there's going to be a bit more depth to it. It's not, although the first chapter is a happy time, you kind of can sense that it's not all going to be smooth sailing for their friendship. And yeah, I just like the idea of, I guess because I'm, again, it's just like my life, but I have typically often written letters when I need to express, something emotional to somebody. So I just had that idea of like, she's trying to get something out, but she doesn't know what she wants to say yet. And over the course of the game, maybe that's what she's going to figure out is, alongside you're seeing the story and what's happened, she's also going through this emotional journey to kind of, maybe gain a new perspective on what's happened.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's such a simple idea, but without that note at the beginning, the whole meaning of the game would come across differently to me as a player. So yeah, well done.
We sometimes have the letter switched off for showcasing, so you might not have seen it. There's a tip box in the settings that turns it off for when we want people to just get into it quicker. And sometimes people at showcases come in for some reason that I've never figured out, and the first thing they do is open the settings, and they turn that option off, and I'm like, why are you doing that? And then it's turned off for everybody else until one of us goes in and resets it. So that might be why you didn't see it.
Maybe, yeah, because it made way more of an impact when I played it again with that letter. So yeah, and it's such a simple thing to add, but it changes it a lot. And it's great. Cool. So next question. I know you're quite a small team, so there's actually 3 of you, aren't there? So who's the 3rd member?
So we have a programmer working on the project. We're in a kind of transition time with the programmer. So we're currently handing over to a new programmer who's joining the team. And we also have a narrative designer who we've like literally just pretty much today had our first chat with, who's also based in Norwich. He's from more of a writing background. So we're hoping he's going to bring like a different storytelling perspective that's really going to help us move forward with developing the story further. So yeah, we're like a core of 3, but we've had little bits of help on things like narrative and audio as well. Like we had some custom music made from someone.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was wondering like how you go about tackling the areas of the game that might be outside of your specific skill set. So like with audio, for instance, is that just like, do you just know enough people to go out and ask, hey, can you help us with this? Or is there like certain places you go to on the internet to look for them? How do you find them?
It kind of depends. Like this whole project has been quite a bit stop-start, and the funding is always a little bit uncertain. So it depends a little bit how flush we're feeling on any given week. But the music was a weird one. Normally, I tend to end up just stepping in and doing a lot of sound design until we are at a position where we can find somebody to help with it. But with the audio, like I found some free tracks on, I think it was freesound.org maybe, and we really liked the music. So I contacted the composer to try and commission him to make some custom tracks for us. Or maybe it was even just to extend the existing track because it was quite short and the loop kind of drove you a bit mad. But he refused to take any money for it, which I actually really respect, because he was like, this is just a hobby for me. It's a passion that I do that because I love it. And I was like, I mean, I understand that you don't want to monetize your hobby because it can ruin the enjoyment. I feel bad taking something free from you, but I guess it works out. We paid him in the end with like a music store voucher, so I think everybody was happy.
He was like,
and the track's great.
So cool. I love that. Yeah, so if anyone's in the chat thinking like, I want to help make a video game, I'm really good at, I don't know, music or art or whatever, put your stuff out there, because you never know who's going to see it and then just contact you and be like, we want your stuff in our game. Oh, that's so wholesome as well. I love that they got inspired enough to give you another track you didn't even ask for. Love that. And I wonder, how did you get your game on the show floor of Develop? Was that your first convention thing that you've been to as well?
We've done quite a lot this year, so it wasn't the first. I don't know, we were in so many. We went to GDC and showcased at a couple of events in San Francisco. Nice. We showcased at WASD earlier in the year as part of we're part of the Barclays Games Frenzy cohort. There's been some where we haven't been able to make it in person, but we're going to be in Tokyo Game Show next week, which is so cool. And we've localized the game into Japanese. That's another person I should say has helped us a lot on the team. But yeah, unfortunately we can't make it, but it's so cool to just see it in Japanese and know that like a whole new audience is going to play it there. But in general, it's just like I apply to everything all the time, and that's kind of been throughout my career. I've had so many opportunities that have come because like the grant fellowship and the other various grants we've had support from. It's just because I'm very proactive. I find I'm always looking out. I'm always on social media. I'm in all the Discord groups, all the Slack groups, looking at the games industry calendar website. It just whenever there's something to apply to, I apply to it. And then I guess people have liked it enough. I'm not like downplaying that the game has been successful, because people like the idea. But a lot of it is also just the law of the more stuff you apply to, the more stuff you're going to get. And, there's no reason to hold yourself back by not just getting those applications in, basically.
I love that. So how do you deal with possibly like self-doubt or any kind of thoughts that might creep in when you're going to apply to these things? Because they're there for everyone, right?
Yeah. I just apply now and decide later. That's how you trick yourself into applying. And I've done that so many things, like job applications where I was like, oh, I don't know, do I want to move to London? The application is not deciding. You can always say no later, although you probably shouldn't, and I don't think I ever have. But yeah, I think just, there's no point you being the one to eliminate yourself from it. They can decide. The person judging it can decide if they think you're good enough. That's not really up to you to decide. So you might as well put it out there.
Good advice. Great advice. I love that. That's so cool. Oh, wait, before we move on, is there any, like, off the top of your head, things that you think anyone in a similar situation to you, like with an indie game looking for it to get on the show floor of whatever, is there anywhere they should be looking at proactively to keep on top of all of these possible opportunities?
Yes, so there's a games industry events calendar. I think it's on Games Industry Biz, which you can add to your Google Calendar and it will tell you all the deadlines that are coming up. Another is to look at how to market a game. So that's a website and a blog about indie game marketing. They have a Discord server that posts all the deadlines that are coming up for different events and showcases as well. So that's another great one to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm sure that's going to help a lot of people. Sounds very cool. And how do you fund the development of this game? Fun question.
With difficulty. Yeah, so we've had 3 different grants that we've been part of. The first one was the Wings Elevate, which was specifically a mobile game accelerator for, I think, underrepresented gender-led games. And that's what gave us the initial... I mean, really, that's what led to us deciding to turn the project into a more serious project, because we were at that phase where it was like the one we pitched then was the memory loss prototype. Right. But that kind of instigated us being like, okay, I think we can actually do something, I don't know, something serious with this. So that time frame for that grant was to make the polished demo, which is the demo we've been able to then showcase and to pitch. So yeah, that was quite critical to getting to this stage. And then the other grants are from Innovate UK. So I don't know, within the games industry, I feel like Innovate UK is one of those organizations that sits a bit outside of people's range of vision, because it's not game specific. It's innovation funding, which is it's like a whole new world to me of terminology and jargon that I had to navigate to do these arduous grant applications. But it's worth looking at, because although they don't target the games industry, a lot of what we're doing in games is innovative. And if you can kind of try and look at it through the lens of some of these other government grants, and there's other business grants and like regional grants here in East Anglia and other areas that are not London. So yeah, it's like, as I said, always trying to be open to any opportunity you can find, even if it doesn't initially seem like a natural fit. A lot of the time it's just trying to look at it from the right angle, which, as I said, it's not easy to necessarily do that, because it can feel like there's a big barrier if you don't speak the language of innovation. But I am now well versed in it. I was on a panel last week talking about innovation. I feel like I've conquered the innovation funding.
Can we see that video anywhere? Will it be going up on YouTube or anything, or is it?
I don't think they were recorded it. As far as I know.
We missed out. That's fine. That sounds cool. And I wonder, so you applied for funding for the game and you got a few monies, which is nice. But what about yourselves? How do you fund food? How do you pay your rent? How do you do these things?
Yes. So yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I've been freelance for the last few years, so I've been in a fortunate position to have that flexibility, and I've kind of dialed down the freelancing at times to focus on Piece Together. Then other times when we've had little gaps, I kind of ramp it up again and do a bit of contract work. And yeah, thankfully Ellie's also now in a situation of freelancing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting question. So at the end of last year, I was made redundant from my previous job, which is like a big thing in the games industry at the moment anyway. So, it happens. But it was sort of fortunate timing, because it meant I could come on with Kate and like really give it my all for making our demo and things. But now I'm sort of like, a little bit of piece together here, a little bit of freelance work there. Luckily, I know Kate, and she is literally the most amazing friend in that way, where obviously she's very connected and very proactive, and I'm more of like a hermit that hopes for the best in my little cave. But luckily, I know Kate, so yeah, she's always looking out for me and seeing if there's like things that I might be able to do, and then I also started painting Pokemon cards into full art, and doing like little TikTok lives and stuff, as like my side hustle. But yes, it's the future's interesting. I hope that I can keep going. I don't know what it looks like.
Well, I mean, you've been doing really good so far, and did have a look at your Etsy page. What's it called? Just so the chat can know.
It's Paint by Els.
Paint by Els. So
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
if you like Pokemon, you should check them out because they're beautiful, honestly. And you do
Thank
some big
you.
ones as well, don't you? Like some fun.
I haven't painted a big one yet because I'm kind of like
I think that's
nervous
the
about
one.
committing to it,
Ah, okay.
because I feel like with the little ones, they're actually so small that it's like, oh yeah, people can't see if I make a mistake. But the bigger they get, I feel like the more obvious any mistakes will be.
I'm sure
But
it'd be
I'll
gorgeous.
give it a go.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. See, everything works out. We should all just be more relaxed. It's easy for me to say, but, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
everything will
very
work out.
creatively fulfilling. Like I've never been this fulfilled, like creatively before. So, working on Piece Together and
Yeah.
all of the art on that, and then doing my own, having more time to do my own art and things is great, but it's definitely teetering on the starving artist. I think I prefer it
Yeah.
than the stressed like getting by though. So yeah, so far it's been a really interesting year. Like, I think going to develop and showing it was probably my highlight, because when I was first in industry, develop was the first ever event I went to, and I was like, oh my God, I belong here now. And I was looking at all the companies showing off their games, thinking, wow. So being able to have our own booth and like be one of those people, that was
Mm.
crazy. So I'm sort of like trying to reassure myself. I'm like, no, like, still doing good things. It's just a very different way of living, I suppose, at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so like, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but I also got laid off beginning of this year as well. And I know it took me, I don't know if you can relate, but it took me like a couple of months to realize I was still a game dev, even though I wasn't working in like a game dev big studio thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, I think it does take you. I
100%.
just from you saying like it's a different way of living and it's a different, but you're still doing game dev. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's wild, but no,
yeah,
you're
and because
doing
it's
great.
Yeah.
so different, it's like, oh, I can really enjoy doing all this stuff, but I am quite bad at maintaining structure and things like that, which, my previous job is like very structured.
Ah.
Um, but Kate also comes and saves the day a lot of the time, and she's very patient with my chaoticness as well. But yeah, it's nice to have someone that's like got good structure and things. It's definitely helped me a lot. Um, because I don't know, setting out on this journey without someone like Kate would have been really difficult. So yeah, I feel very lucky that,
Aw.
the universe brought us together to make a
Yeah.
game relationship nonetheless.
You're
So
adorable. Look at this is adorable friendship making a game about friendship. Oh, it's lovely. That actually really goes on nicely to my next question, which is how do you manage your time?
Yes. Yeah, it's been hard. It's been hard this year for me because I've been so focused on doing the biz dev stuff and like pitching and doing the applications that it has felt like my time that I was so enjoying last year and that, since being freelance to just be creative is getting sucked into that more. Especially, yeah, I mean, I guess it's like starting a company obviously is a lot of work, and
Mm.
not that I didn't know that, but I probably still didn't I still underestimated it. So yeah, I think sometimes I like to do my morning check-in in Slack. I don't think anybody looks at them, but I do a little morning check-in that's like, these are the things I'm going to do today, because if I don't write them down, I will drift off and be like, oh, actually I'm just going to go for a walk in the park and I'm going to do that. And yeah, sometimes when I notice that I guess I am getting all my time taken up with admin and emails and stuff, I'll try and block out at the start of my week, like I'm gonna carve out this time for myself to do something creative and or do some like a little side project or something like that, just to feel like I think maybe I'm not the same as Ellie, because I wouldn't say I've been that creatively fulfilled since being so focused on business stuff. So I think that's the hard balance that you'll hear probably from any indie dev, which is like, I came here because I love building stuff, and now I spend a lot of my time writing emails.
Yeah. I guess so your role is a creative lead as well as CEO. So kind of how would you explain that to someone who doesn't know what that is?
Well, like the CEO or the creative lead or both?
The creative lead, because you're
Yeah.
talking about how sometimes it's more admin and you don't feel as creatively
Yeah.
fulfilled. So what does that role encompass?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it is a bit of an umbrella term. It's always hard to know what to put yourself as when you're in a team this small and you're like, I do 100 different things every day.
Yeah.
I think I put that in the sense that because I'm the game designer on the project and I'm kind of setting, I guess, the overall vision for where the game's going. And obviously, like, it's very collaborative and we come up with a lot of stuff together. But then I guess I see it as ultimately my role to kind of make sure that's distilled and it gets translated into a project and a game that, like on a practical level, we know what we're doing each week. And yeah, I kind of like bringing together, I guess, as well, the different elements like art, narrative, and design to bring like this cohesive little product together.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of
Yeah, I
different
mean, it's
things.
similar to in my last role. I was working as a game lead on some of the projects. So again, it was a small team and it was stressful. So I was trying to do the day-to-day game design work and UX design, but also basically managing the team. And now and that felt like too much. And now I'm doing that plus trying to do a business development. I don't know. I like taking on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Do you get some time for yourself as well to decompress?
Times. No, I can't really complain. Like, I've also, we're a very flexible team, so in terms of my day-to-day time, like, I can always take a break. We don't work kind of full-time hours.
Gotcha.
We just book check-ins and we work on stuff in between. So, if I want to go for a swim one morning, or if I want to work remote, like I did a lot of work from abroad this year, which was really nice. So there is that. It's only down to me pressuring myself to get stuff done, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes not so much.
Yeah, I think we can probably all say the same as well. And how about you, Ali? I mean, especially so when you're like doing your freelance work as well, how do you kind of manage your time around that?
Well, I've been quite lucky with our freelance clients that we've been working with because they're very like casual. They're a very small team as well. I think there's only two of them. I don't know. I think they outsource. Well, obviously they outsource. What am I talking about? I'm one of those people. So they're very much in the same way where it's like we'll get together and chat about what we want to do and when the next check-in is, and then it's up to me to do that work however I want to, I suppose. So it's a really nice way of working if you have like chronic ADHD, because I can just kind of like get hyper focused whenever I want to, or if I have like a day of like emotional burnout and I can't like bring myself to do things, it's like I haven't messed everything up for myself. So yeah, I really enjoy that way of working and been lucky so far. I think if I was to do other freelance work, I'm sure, there might be different check-ins and things like that. So maybe I would have to adjust. And I have worked in that kind of situation a bit more before, but this is definitely like my optimum way of working. It's so yeah, for managing my time, I'm absolutely terrible at managing my time. So this is having like deadlines and then being able to complete the thing whenever I want to within that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually been really good.
Yeah, I think we're quite conscious as a team of like our mental health, having both gone through different things, and like the pandemic obviously took a toll and leaving jobs. Like, I'm at the point now where I think my biggest problem will be if I have to go back to a full-time kind of 9 to 5 style job, because I genuinely don't know if I would be able to cope with it now, because I've got so used to being able to, as Ellie said, it's like when you're in the mood to work, it doesn't matter if it's late at night. It's like I'm in the zone. There's no one stopping me. It's great. And then equally, if the next day I'm like, I actually just need a morning to chill out and go do something. I don't know. It's so nice to be able to work that way.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. Like, I know there's obviously pros and cons to it all. Like, when you're in a full-time job, you do get a structure, and that way it's like very easy to plan things and stay to a schedule. But not everyone works that way. And I think as a society, I hope we're slowly starting to realize that. But like, the kind of the 9 till 5 is built more for people who are really good at working like in the afternoons mainly, and it totally excludes night owls and yeah, people who kind of don't wake up properly until like 2 p.m., which is totally valid, and we're all different human beings. So yeah, it's nice that you've both been able to find that this way can work for you. Find some peace in the chaos, if you will. So I wonder for both of you, what is the most challenging and the most rewarding parts of indie development?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've touched on a lot of it already. Like for me, it's that doing so many different things, even more than I pictured when I started out, that I didn't appreciate how much of this other stuff would end up taking my time. But it's like what am I trying to say, double-sided coin? I don't know, because at the same time, I'm quite a generalist, and I think that's a thing that for me, you can only really work as a generalist in indie dev. Like you can't go and do AAA development and be someone, I like doing design. I also like doing a bit of programming. Sometimes I dabble in the art. I like tinkering, and maybe I also have a short attention span. I like to do lots of different things, and that to me is like being able to be hands-on, actually building stuff. That's not something I was able to do in my other jobs because there were programmers to do that work. That it was frankly too advanced for my programming skills because we were doing multiplayer, and I was like, this is way out of my wheelhouse. So yeah, being able to both help set that high level creative vision that I was talking about, but also get in and be like, I'm going to polish these interactions and I'm going to just actually be the one making stuff. Yeah. That's like the most rewarding part.
Awesome. What about you, Ellie?
I think like yeah, the freedom and the way that you can work, obviously like I feel very lucky that it really matches up with like my creative workflow, and I feel like I get the best out of myself by doing that, which is a good thing. But I guess the flip side is like I am really bad at giving myself boundaries and time management that I also need. Like I'm quite like a someone that ends up rotting in bed a lot of time, and I'm like, that's not a good use of my time, basically ever. So I think yeah, having structure, even though I do really like the way I work, it's still something that is like Kate said, it's sort of a double-edged sword in that way, where some days it's like that's really, really tough because my brain just can't make me do the thing. Whereas like if there's a big structure in place, it's like you have to go do the thing. But then at the same time, I get to work in my own creative rhythms. So yeah, it's interesting. I've only been doing it for a year, so I suspect I'll learn quite a lot and adjust and figure out how that works. I guess it's a bit like starting a new job, but you have no rules. Well, there is some rules, but I'm interested to see how it goes. I don't know if I have any good advice about it yet. I think I'm still working working out what it means.
Okay, because that actually leads nicely on to the next question as well, which is, by the way, the last question before we do live Q&A. So chat, get your questions ready. We'll be answering them in a little bit. But I was going to ask, what's like one top tip you'd have for aspiring indie devs? So if you can't think of one, Ellie, maybe think of like one thing that you've learnt through this year of like starting. But we'll let you think about that, and I'll ask Kate first.
Maybe I have two. Are two allowed?
Yes.
I would probably just reiterate what I said about just apply to everything that you can apply to, because you never know where it's going to go and what path it's going to lead you down, even if it doesn't seem like the perfect fit. Yeah, it could get you somewhere interesting. And I think the other thing, and maybe another thing that's been the challenge for me, not so much since Ellie came on the project, but there's been stints where I've been working, we haven't been doing active development on the game, and I've been working very solo on trying to push things forward, especially with the funding. So I think it is hard to try and do this stuff on your own, and if you can find people to help, people to collaborate, and also just try and find those communities and networks. Like, I'm very lucky to be working out of a shared workspace where there's people around who they're not necessarily game developers. I mean, some of them are, like my partner, but the others not so much. They're at least like people working in tech, and people who now, they've kind of seen some of my journey, and I can lean on them sometimes just to vent and, get a bit of advice or whatever it is. I think, it is easy, especially now everyone's working remote. It's easy to be isolated and to kind of feel like you're on your own. But there's a lot of other developers out there. There's like Discord communities for indie devs. There's like subreddits where I found collaborators with various different outcomes, and like that will just really help you, because it's hard to, when you hit a roadblock, if you're working on your own and you have no one to help you through it, it's really tough. But at least if you have someone, I mean, this is the best thing for me working with Ellie. She's such a good champion and like cheerleader, and as you heard, she's always like telling me I can do it. She's like, I believe in you. I wouldn't be able to do it without that.
So sweet.
Find your Ellie. That's my advice.
You don't even tell me these things in person. You're trying to make me cry on camera.
I did say it was my goal to make people cry.
Not like this.
Oh, no, that's really good advice. Thank you so much for sharing. And what about you, Ellie?
I don't know. I feel like I've gone really red now.
Oh.
Damn it, Kate. Yeah, I guess I was trying to think about it, but when Kate was talking about, sort of finding communities and people to talk to, honestly, that has been my biggest help getting through this, and kind of, well, not getting through this, but I guess becoming accustomed to it, and like, the ups and downs, like, because me and Kate are so on the same wavelength with how things are, like, I can be honest with her if I'm kind of like, oh, today I'm having like a crappy work day and I can't be bothered to do anything.
Yeah.
She's never like, she's always sort of on my side with that. And she's like, yeah, no, I totally get it. Like, we can, oh, can I take anything that will make this easier? That kind of stuff. But also, yeah, saying yes to things, because I'm bad at, in general, reaching to go do stuff, but I've learned, when anyone offers me an opportunity to do something, I'll say yes to it, and like sort of force myself out of my comfort zone and kind of do those things, which I'm hoping will give me the courage to then start like seeking those things out more. But doing all the events and stuff this year has been really cool. And Develop was the one where Kate was actually on holiday, so I had to do it on my own. Well, it wasn't on my own. I brought my partner as emotional support. But being able to talk about the game and kind of like champion it and seeing people's reactions and things, that definitely gave me a lot of like self, like what is it? I can't think of the word now. It just made me feel like, oh yeah, I can do this thing, that kind of amped me up, and then I'm kind of bringing that energy back to Kate, and it's like, yeah. So I guess it is sort of the things that Kate's been mentioning in a slightly different font.
Yeah.
I think getting your game in front of people, not because it's not like I don't need necessarily external validation to be like, do I know what I'm doing? Can I make a good game? But I think there's been a lot of times where I hadn't realized that maybe I was, losing optimism. And then you go to a show or you get someone play the game and they tell you this great feedback, and you're like, oh, actually, I really needed to hear that. So I think, showing people what you're doing as well, it can just be really rewarding and motivating.
Yeah, I bet. And it probably solidifies it as like, this is a real thing we're making for real people. It's not just for us on our little computers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really lovely. That's lovely. Is there anything else that you might want to share with us before we say our goodbyes?
Check out our game on Steam, Piece Together. You can also find it at playpiecetogether.com, and our socials are mostly at Glowfrog Games. So yeah, you can follow our progress, and anytime. Oh, also, Actually, this is another piece of advice I forgot. Sorry, is you can always reach out to people who are in the industry who are maybe doing jobs or something that you aspire to do. Like everyone in the games industry is super friendly. There's no one ever feels I've been talking to a lot of new indie devs recently, and they're always really surprised, especially if they come from another industry that's not like this, where they're like, everyone's just so open, everyone wants to help. It's like, yeah, it is that kind of community in indie games, and like you can always reach out to someone on Twitter or email or approach them at an event. People love to help each other out, and because we've all been in the same kind of struggles. The worst thing that will happen is they don't reply because they're too busy or something like that. So like I'm always open to chatting to people. I love connecting people as well. If I can't help someone, I'll try and connect them with someone or send them my list of endless like groups that can help or resources that have helped me, because yeah, I think just like the more that we all help each other in this industry, like it's already hard enough, so there's no point making it harder for each other. So yeah, always reach out to people.
Great point, great point. And where could chat find Glowfrog Games and yourselves if you wanted to share your own personal socials?
Yeah, so our website is glowfrog.games. My website is katekillick.com. But pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter or X. I hate calling it that because it just sounds inappropriate. But and my handle on there is something kind of different. It's Plasbad. So that's where I'm around, or it's basically me retweeting every single thing that Piece Together Twitter does. So definitely don't need to follow me, but.
And don't forget the Etsy as well. What's your Etsy again? Just so that we remember.
Oh yeah, by Els. So if you're interested in painted Pokemon cards, that's something I provide.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us, by the way. Like it's been really cool. It's actually, I think, been the best interview been a part of, like super chill, like yeah, it's awesome. So thank you.
I love it. That's the kind of vibes I'm going for, and especially for you because you're making a beautiful cozy game. So I was like, okay, cozy vibes. We're gonna do it today. Pink lights,
Oh, you really did bring that game. I brought, I don't know, whatever this orange thing is in the background.
You brought your beautiful hair. And we have the plants as well, the plants and the cats from Kate.
Yeah,
so.
I mean that is actually a fake plant, but we'll ignore that.
Tell people that.
we wouldn't be able to notice.
I did wonder why it was still alive. No shade.
Rude.
I love it. No, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. It's very obvious that you're both like very good friends as well, and that just bodes even better for a game about friendship, and I love it. And I want to tell the chat to please wishlist the game if you want to support these lovely people. The link should be in the chat. All you have to do is put !indie game and you'll get a little link to the Steam page. So yeah, please do support. It means a lot to wishlist the game. And thank you so much for your time, for being here, for sharing all of your wisdom. I love chatting to all the indie devs that come on here. And I always find a common theme where like no one really knows what they're doing, but they're just like, I'm doing it. And it's nice because it seems to work out, at least for now. And I think that's what we have to kind of focus on. It's like, does this feel right with me today and tomorrow and the next day? And also, safe enough that you're not absolutely starving and you can pay your rent and that you're surrounded by people who make you feel comfortable and that you enjoy being with. And it's lovely to see that you've found that in each other and it's worked out for you. And just really thank you for your inspiring words and your beautiful game that you're making. And I can't wait to follow the journey of Glowfrog Games.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Don't forget to wishlist that game. So, bye. Okay. So that was Kate and Ellie from Glowfrog Games, and that was a wonderful conversation. They're honestly so easy to talk to. I had such a beautiful time chatting with them, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. It's very inspiring to hear. But yeah, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't know if you're aware, and if you're not, then I will fill you in. This will be my second to last stream before I myself have a little sabbatical from content creation. And yeah, it's been really nice to be able to have one of my last streams be chatting to Glowfrog Games. I think it's a really nice way to kind of like end my time just being a content creator, because I've actually found myself a job back doing more game stuff. So I'll be around on the Discord letting you know how I get on and everything. Have a lovely day or evening. Thanks again for being here, and goodbye. Bye bye bye. Where's the goodbye? There it is. Here's the goodbye. Thanks for coming. Bye.